Hello everybody, I am Peter and welcome to my first time English spoken video travelogue.
Poorly, very poorly.
In the hot summer, I will take you around Bela krajina, visit the abandoned Kocevarska village, drive along the route of the forest railway and climb Mirna gora, which is the highest peak of Bela krajina. I start in the attractive glamping resort of tourism Maleric. This is a great starting point for a day trip around Bela krajina, various adventures on the Kolpa river, or all day chilling and soaking in the pond next to the houses. The resort is located in Podlog, near the village of Dragatush in the municipality of Chernomel. Dragatush is located on a low hill in the middle of the fertile Dragatush field and lies in the area of the Lahinia Landscape Park, which is south of the village. My path between the fields leads me to the north, so I soon reach the village church in Oberh, near Dragatush. This is a church dedicated to St. Lawrence and was first mentioned in written documents in 1427. Inside, some paintings from the 16th century have been preserved. I move on. In the distance, behind the trees, I can see my goal for today. I descend past the green fields to the main road Chernomel-Vinica, and in the village Kvasica I turn towards Tanča Gora, followed by the villages of Grič pri Dobličah, Stražni Vrh and Drožič Vrh, and by the roadside vineyard cottages on the left and right. And the higher I go, the more beautiful the view of Bela krajina is. I drive through the villages of Rodine into the forest where the most powerful and most famous inhabitant of the Kocevar forest lives. The brown bear is next to the polar bear, the largest living beast today. According to estimates from 2018, almost 1,000 bears live in Slovenia, most of them in Kočevski Rok. Fortunately, I haven't come across it myself. But the vast, healthy and rich forests of Kočevski Rok have always promised a good income from wood and charcoal, despite the many beasts that live in it. 7 centuries ago, many groups of people from present-day Germany and South Tyrol inhabited the area in waves, so that a German-speaking island was formed in Kočevje, surrounded by Slavs. The settlers, named Kocevari, were known among the Slovene population as intelligent farmers and woodworkers, also glassmakers and iron workers. Due to the historical moments before and after the Second World War, almost all of the Kocevar people left their homes that belonged to Italy. Due to the war, Italy burned many villages as a precaution.
Ta planinska luža je hranjena kočevarska luža v obliki srca. A tole je luža v obliki srca.
To this day, most of the ruins of the villages of Kocevar people have been overgrown with forest, but some of their remains have been preserved for us.
Presek Oglarske kope.
The abandoned village of Planina below Mirna Gora once had a church and school, but today, in addition to rare buildings, we can see an interesting open-air museum with old forestry tools and a former forest railway wagon and a limestone and a charcoal dig. During the Second World War, the village of Planina offered shelter to the partisan movement, and the remains of the former Kocevar village of Ponikve are also nearby. The ruins of the village, which was burnt in 1942 and officially abolished in 1955, were also used to build forest roads. A few miles from here, before the end of the 19th century, a large settlement, Jaga Rok, which employed about 400 people, grew. They brought saw wood and charcoal into the valley. Due to the lack of running water, the circular saw were powered by a large steam engine, 35 kilometers of forest railways, and a network of forest roads were built. The sawmill ceased operation in 1932. Machinery and railway tracks were dismantled and sold for scrap metal. Today we find only a few ruins of the settlement and individual preserved parts of the railway routes. There are two slightly different folk traditions that speak of how Mirna Gora got its name, and both include dragons. The first folk tradition speaks of a dragon with 3 hearts that lived in a beautiful castle on Mirna Gora. He had a sister, beautiful as a fairy. No one dared to climb to the castle to beg the dragon so he could marry his sister. Under Mirna Gora lived 3 brave brothers who were not afraid of anything, not even a dragon with 3 hearts. Their father, lying on his deathbed, said to them, "Go to Mirna Gora, to the dragon's castle, to look for the bride. Whoever gets her will live happily for 100 years." The brothers go up the mountain one by one. As in any fairy tale, the first brother is not successful. The second brother ends up in pain and blood. The story, as expected, ends with only the third brother being successful and defeating the terrible dragon. After that, he arranged a dance for him and the bride and invited all the people from below Mirna Gora. After the dance, he lived in the castle with his beautiful wife for 100 years. But when they died, the castle on the mountain fell apart, leaving no stone upright, and peace ruled on. The second folk tradition goes like this. Dark clouds were gathering over the beautiful hilly land, known for its delicious pears, apples and plums, especially when the vines on the glowy banks hung under heavy clusters. They suddenly rushed over the land and dropped heavy grains of ice, which cooled peasant expectations. The clouds were coming from the northwest, once for 7 years in a row, from a mountain topped by a cave. In it lived a dragon that filled the sky with dark clouds and heavy grains of ice. People tried to close shut his throat, so they built a church of the weather patron Saint Francis Xavier above the cave. This became a popular pilgrimage point, visited by Slovenes, Croats and kocevar people. Because the troubles stopped after that, they named the peak Mirna Gora. There is always a grain of truth hidden in folk tales, but it is sometimes a little harder to extract it from the wooden historical sheath. A beautiful forest educational trail leads to Mirna Gora from the village of Planina. It is equipped with beautiful boards from forester Franz Janes, which show us the varied forest life and the importance of the forest in preserving water. On the top of Mirna Gora, mountaineers built a mountain lodge next to the church before the war. Unfortunately, the walled dragon struck with its tail after a few years, as the Italians burned both buildings in 1942. The home was renovated after the war, and the preserved bell tower was converted into a lookout tower. Later, the church was partially restored. showcase with one glance the entire fertile land captured in the Kolpa River, where the large town of Chernomel, Metlika and Semič and dozens of scattered villages are located. Bela krajina is truly a precious pearl in our country, which constantly surprises us with its beauty. Fortunately, it is undiscovered by the masses even today. How did you like my travelogue? Leave a comment below. I will be very happy if you subscribe to my channel. And if you don't, I will be very sad. Anyways, thanks for watching. See you in the next travelogue. Bye.